Okay, so let's start this Bhagavad Gita series. See, Bhagavad Gita is a life manual. Bhagavad Gita is a life manual. Okay, it teaches us how to lead our lives, how to uh, uh, know each other, how to know the different things, how to know the material nature, how to know the spiritual topics. Okay, how to know what is our activity. Okay, how to know God. Okay, and how to know the process to divine connection or connection with God. Okay, mainly these topics are discussed: material nature, spiritual topics, activities, and God, and process for divine connection. All those topics are the part of Bhagavad Gita. So it's a life manual because it tells us, it answers some important questions like who am I? Who am I? Okay. Am I really Gita, Sita, Ram, Syam? Okay. And is that who I am only, or I am something different? Okay. And what is the role I need to play here? What is the role I need to play? I have taken this body. What is the role I need to play? Okay. So all these questions are the main focus of your Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita is also called as also called Bhagavad Gita is also called as Gitopanishad. Gitopanishad. Okay, that means Gita and Upanishad combined together, it is called Gitopanishad. Similarly, let us start with another very important Upanishad which talks about God. Okay, which talks about God, that is your Sri Isopanishad. Okay, Sri Isopanishad. Sri Isopanishad. Okay, so let us start Sri Isopanishad then. So everybody is with me? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
now, okay, Isopanishad. Let us see what is the contents of Sri Isopanishad. First of all, there is an invocation. Invocation goes like this. Okay. So before any thing, we should pray to our. We should have some invocation. Okay. So we should remember our guru. We should remember God. Okay. So here there is an invocation. Om Purna Madaha Purnamidam Purnat Mudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Okay, so what does this mean? Om, the complete whole. Purnam, perfectly complete. Adaha, that. Purnam, perfectly complete. So it is the word to word translation is given, and this is the whole translation that goes like this. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete whole. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete by itself. And because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. That means this is the absolute nature. Okay, absolute nature of God, absolute nature, absolute nature. Okay, and you have a, in contrast to that, you have a relative nature. Okay, you have a relative nature. So this absolute nature is a characteristic of your spirit. Okay, and this relative nature is a characteristic of matter. Okay, just to understand it very simple way, the absolute nature means 2 minus 2 is equal to 2. 1 minus 1 is equal to also 1. Okay, so anything minus, see, any, like say, uh, okay, anything minus something is equal to also, I mean, that thing. That means, see, for example, in the matter, you do 2 minus 2, it becomes 0. 3 minus 2, it becomes 1. Okay, 1 minus 1, it becomes 0. But this is not the case with spirit. Even if you take something out of something, it still remains that thing. Okay, that is the spiritual nature or absolute nature. Okay, so now that is what it is talking about, the personality of Godhead. That means God is so complete and perfect. Even if you take something from God, he still remains complete and perfect. Okay, that is God. So now here it is said that, okay, uh, okay, so I'll give you this. You will go through this. I'll share you. If someone requests this PDF, I'll share with you. So
Yes, please.
yes, the completeness of human life can only be realized when the human form of life is engaged in the surface of the complete whole. Okay, that means what it is saying here, see, it is trying to say that, see, now we have a, see, what are we? See, we are living entities. We are living entities also. Okay, but we are very small living entities. We are compared to the insignificant living entities. Insignificant living entities. We are like uh, drop. I mean a part, even a very minute part of a drop of a ocean. Okay, that means, if, see, if God is compared with a ocean, God is compared with an ocean. So this universe also, it's is like a universe is also like a drop of that ocean. So if the universe is a drop, think of our existence, our capability, or our significance. See how big is our universe. It has got billions of galaxies, solar system, sun, moon, so many stars and so many planets, so many things. And we are so much insignificant. And in front of God, even the universe is insignificant. One universe is also insignificant. So God is so big and so large. We God is in God is incomprehensible. Therefore, God is said as incomprehensible. Okay, even universe may be comprehensible after some time. It is definitely will not be, because the universe is so large and so many things are going on, so rapid changes are happening. But the saying goes like this, that sometimes the universe may be comprehensible to some extent, but God can never. Okay, God can never be incomprehensible by anyone. Universe is very, very minute. If God is like ocean, then universe is like drop of, even a part of the drop of the ocean. That big is universe compared to God. Okay, and even if universe is a ocean, like we are like also a minute part of the drop of the ocean. So you can see the comparison. Okay, God, if God is a ocean, then the universe is a small part, a drop, I mean, very, very negligible part. And compared to the universe, we are a very negligible part. If the universe is an ocean, okay, we are negligible part. So you can think how we are related to God. So, but the thing is that we are related to God. There is another relationship with God. What relationship? We living entities are part and parcel of God. We are part and parcel of God. That means whatever quality wise, we are same with God. Okay, quality wise, we are same with God, but not quantity wise. Quantity wise, we are not same with God. Okay, so now some person may ask, you are telling about God, but we do not know who is God. Okay, we do not know who is God. So for to know who is God, because in India there are so many gods, so you one may question who is that God. Okay, so to know who the God is actually, okay, we have to take the shelter of a guru or acharya who knows about God, who knows about God. We have to take the shelter of a guru or acharya who knows about God. And Parasar Muni is a such type of guru who can tell us about God. He has given the definition of God. Okay, he has defined God. He told if these qualities are present in full, then he is God. What are the qualities? He has unlimited strength. Then he can be called, this is one part, unlimited strength. Plus he should have unlimited wealth. Plus he should have unlimited beauty. Plus he should have unlimited wisdom or knowledge. Number 5, he should have unlimited fame. And number 6, finally, He has given unlimited. He should have unlimited renunciation. Renunciation. Then he can be called. If these six qualities are there in unlimited amount, then he can be called as God. So according to this definition, Parasar Muni and other acharyas like Narad Muni, uh, Kapil Muni, and so many others, Asit Muni, and a lot of other recognized acharyas, not ordinary acharyas, they have concluded that there is one person who can be called as God, and none other than is Lord Krishna. They have unanimously, they have confirmed that only Lord Krishna is the God, can be called as God or Bhagavan, according to these six qualities. He has unlimited strength because he lifted, you can see the strength by knowing that he has, see in how the first point, that he has unlimited strength. We can know because, see, when he was a small boy, he lifted Govardhan hill. He lifted Govardhan hill for 7 days and 7 nights in order to save Vrindavan from the terror of Indra. Anybody has heard? Please let me know by yes, saying yes in the chat if anybody has heard about this. Okay, very good. Okay, so this when he was just a small boy, like nowadays you see many of the big men, they claim to become God by becoming, by meditating or by doing some yoga practice. They are able to do some type of trick, or they're performing some magic tricks. They're acting like they have become God. But God is not God by any type of meditation or any type of process. We cannot become God. God is God from the very child. Okay, God is God from the very beginning. Nobody can become equal to God. Nobody can become equal to Krishna any moment. But nowadays these foolish people, they are doing some meditation, they are doing some yogic process, they are doing something and something, and they are trying to become God. But God is God from the very birth. Nobody can become God, okay, by doing by any set of process. Then second point is he has got, he should have unlimited, what is the second point? Wisdom or knowledge, suppose. Wisdom or knowledge. Now, you know Bhagavad Gita, which is spoken by Lord Krishna. Bhagavad Gita. Even the name itself says who is Bhagavan. Bhagavad Gita is a message spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. And here it is told as Bhagavat, means Bhagavan has said this Gita. So you can know who is Bhagavan. Okay, so this knowledge is coming from 5,000 years before, just 5,000 years before, Lord Krishna has spoken this to Arjuna, and until now, the message is so, the words or the message spoken in Bhagavad Gita is so relevant today than ever before. You can see many people studying Bhagavad Gita even today, which no other knowledge could exist. See, nowadays the technology what you are learning, the technology you are learning, it is changing every day. Today, now it was C, to tomorrow it is Pascal, and day after tomorrow it is Python, next it will be something else. It is changing. but the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is forever. Okay, it is forever. We will discuss what is the content of Bhagavad Gita, then you will know how it will be relevant in every time and circumstances. Okay, so this was spoken by Lord Krishna, and so this proves the unlimited wisdom Lord Krishna is having. Okay, next, can somebody recall what is the next
Wealth.
unlimited wealth? Very good. Unlimited wealth. See, now everyone knows that when Lord Krishna built Dwarika, he has established lot of magnificent palaces for his queens. And how many queens he has got? God can have, yes, I think he has got 16,108. Okay, he
Yes,
can
sir.
have any number of wives. God can have any number of wives, but he had got so many wives while he was in Dwarika because God is unlimited. We are thinking Krishna to be like us. Therefore, some people are becoming puzzled to know that how can a man have so many wives? But previously, a king also would be having more than one wife, but it is not possible for a man to have 16,100 wives, and not only that, he had built for each wife a magnificent palace made of diamonds and a lot of good jewelry, made of diamonds, gold, and jewelry. He had made so 16,108 palaces he has made. Okay, so you can know that he has got, and from other some examples also, we will know that he possesses all the wealth that everyone that we can think of. Okay, okay. So now, what is the next point? Anybody remember? Yes.
Unlimited beauty.
Yes, he has unlimited beauty. He has unlimited beauty. Now you may say, how you can say that he has unlimited beauty? Because one of our greatest personalities, Lord Brahma, has said. Lord Brahma is the first living entity of a universe. Of any universe, Lord Brahma is the first living entity. So he has said that Lord Krishna has got only because he has, I think he has seen Krishna. Okay, while Krishna has come to this universe, Lord Brahma might have seen him, and he has described, and even Lord Krishna was there 5,000 years before in our earthly planet. So definitely Lord Brahma would have seen him, and he has said that Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Asesa Shobham means millions of Cupid's beauty. Cupid is thought to be love of God. Okay, I mean God of love. Okay, so naturally God of love would be having so much beauty, but Lord Brahma is saying that millions of Cupid's beauty cannot also be equal to Krishna's beauty. So that is what Brahma has said. And now you may say that some beautiful person's name, okay, in this world to be a beautiful person. Suppose Aishwarya Rai was thought to be so much beautiful. But now, if you see now you may not tell that Aishwarya Rai's beauty is so much beauty, or somebody else's beauty. You would be thinking that he or she has got so much of beauty. But 10 years later, your opinion will change. Okay, your opinion will change because that beauty is not permanent in our case, in or in people's case. Some person is beautiful today, and after some time, then definitely the body will change, and he will, because people will grow old, and then the wrinkles will appear, and he will no longer remain beautiful. But Krishna is not like that. His body doesn't change. His body doesn't change. So he is he is ever youthful. His body is ever youthful. Always he is like, I think there is an estimation by some acharya that his age is constant at 12 years and some months. And some months his age is constant. Okay, so his body never changes like our body. His age is fixed, or he has got a body of a 12-year-old month. Even he is the oldest person. God is the oldest person, but still he is always remains like a 12-year-old boy. But he is the oldest person. But generally, people think in the Western world, people think God to be like growing a beard and having a mustache, white beard, a white mustache, and they think that he's a big God and something. But no, in actuality, Lord Krishna is the oldest person, and he is God, and his age is something around, and this is a constant for 12 years this month. Okay, and his complexion is like a blackish, bluish blackish complexion. Okay, like you may think like blackish complexion is not so beautiful, but in his case, there's a combination of bluish and blackish complexion, and his beauty is very enhanced and very beautiful. Those gopis and others, those who have seen him, they have claimed that yes, he is the most beautiful person. Okay, now uh, now the next point. Can anyone recall what is the next point?
Unlimited reincarnation.
Unlimited. Yes.
Reincarnation.
No, that is renunciation. Okay, renunciation. Renunciation means tyag. Tyag. Okay, tyag is called as renunciation. Like you see some person wearing a some mendicant dress, some beggar dress, and they are like sadhu dress. You see, he has got only a water pot or say stick maybe, and one small cloth, and then he walks barefooted. He is called as a tyagi or a renunciant. Okay, so that means he has left everything. Okay, somebody who leaves his family, leaves and goes in the search of some spiritual thing, he's called a renunce. Like they appear like to be a, like free from material desire, they appear to be a renunciant. So Krishna has built this entire creation. Actually, he is the one who has created this creation, but he is remaining aloof from this creation. Although Krishna has created this creation, he is remaining aloof. Okay, from the creation, that such that he has nothing to do with the creation. Okay, so in that way, he is the having the ultimate renunciation. One who has created something is attached to that. But even if Krishna has created this creation, he is remaining aloof from that. Okay, therefore, he is called unlimited renunciation. And next, unlimited, yes, fame. Okay, unlimited fame. So Krishna was famous 1 million years before. Krishna was famous 1,000 years before. Krishna was famous now. Krishna will be famous later on also. See how that is possible. You see, for example, Jagannath Rath Yatra. Jagannath is none other than Lord Krishna, and you will see the chariot festival celebrated now all over the world. Everyone knows about Jagannath in that way, Lord Krishna in that way. And you will see that many cases, lot of people, they already know, like Indian people, they already know about Krishna to some extent or the other. And even the Western world people are slowly also knowing about Lord Krishna through the different movements of our acharyas, they are knowing. Okay, so Lord Krishna has got unlimited, and not only in this universe, but in other universes, and even in this universe, not only in this earthly planet, in other planets, everyone knows about Lord Krishna. Okay, so in that way, he is very, very famous. Lord Krishna is known by everyone. Everyone knows, but it is the matter of devotion. How much somebody has devotion to Krishna. That may be small in some one case and big in some other case. Okay, so but everyone in this universe or in different universes, they know about Lord Krishna. Okay, that is what it is talking about. Now, then any service in this world, okay, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete unless and until it is dovetailed with the complete thing. Now, what it is telling is that very important thing it is telling. See, I told you that we are part and parcel of Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna. So now our hands and legs are also part of our body, just like our hands and legs are part of our body. So the hands and legs, either together, they are working for the body. They are working for the body. Then our body is getting some food, and when the body is getting food, automatically our hands and legs are also getting nourished, are getting energy. Similarly, we are parts and parcels of Lord Krishna, and we need to, work for Krishna. Then what will happen? Automatically, we will also be getting charged up with spiritual energy. Okay, so this is an example of how that we should be working for Lord, because see, we are part of Lord. Okay, therefore we should be, because we are part of Lord Krishna, that means that we should actually work for Krishna. That is what it is saying. That any service in this world, we are having different services in this world, like social, political, communal, international, even interplanetary or personal. Any service in the world will remain incomplete, okay, if it is not dovetailed with the complete. And when everything is dovetailed with the complete whole, the attached parts and parcels also become complete in themselves. Just like, see, we are here. This is a whole. If we do not connect with the whole, now our connection is not there. We do not know God and we are not trying to have connection with God. We are not connecting with God. So what will happen? We will not get the energy or mercy, will not become complete. If only we can make the connection with the complete whole, then only we can also become complete. See, like the sparks of fire. Okay, when it gets separated from fire, okay, then it becomes a different part, okay, and it has got no existence. When it was with this fire, then it was like being called a fire. But when it is separated out, then it has got no meaningful existence of its own. Which one? The spark of a fire, the small part of a fire. Only when it is connected with this complete whole, then we can think of it as getting some meaningful existence. Okay, that is what it is saying. When it is dovetailed with the complete whole, the attached parts and parcels also become complete in themselves. Okay, so now we'll come to the mantra 1. That was the invocation. Now we'll come to the mantra 1. That is Isabhasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita ma grudha asya svidhanam. Okay, the word to word meaning is given, like these are in Sanskrit, okay, and the word to word translation to English is also given. So what is it what it is saying is that everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. Okay, and one should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. It's a very important thing what it is saying, that just read this and just let me know what do you think. Just I'll give you 1 minute time, just think about it and let me know your views.
Sir,
Hello. Uh,
Yes, sir.
so,
Sir.
anybody? Yes.
Yes, sir, I.
Tell.
Sir, I think it is that the person should uh, claim or accept limited wealth which is necessary for him to run his life, and should not take more wealth which is set for other people to enjoy.
That's very good. Excellent.
So can I say too?
Yes.
Sir, can I do?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it means that like we should not be greedy of any man's possessions, like किसी का भी धर्म या फिर about their possession, we shouldn't have a low or a lust about them. And सच्चे दिल यानी कि सच्चे दिल से हमें भगवान का स्मरण करना चाहिए, which is said in the last thing. Magrida Kashya Sedanam. So that's
excellent. Anybody else?
Sir, can I do? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, anything, whether it is living or non-living, it is the owner of every living or non-living thing is only the God. So in our life, whatever we are getting, it is due to God, and whatever we are not getting, it is also the decision of the God.
Okay, good. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Excellent interpretation and excellent, I would say, your very good. I am very happy with your explanations. That's what exactly it is. See, see, this, what I want to say, this world has got limited number of resources. Limited number of resources. Okay. And it is God has provided such that everyone can meet his or her needs. Everyone can meet his or her needs. And plus animals. Animals can also meet their needs, because in the eyes of God, nobody is inferior and nobody is superior. The human beings, animals, trees, everyone is on an equal level for God. Okay, but the God has provided resources for every living entity, and he is actually the maintainer. He is maintaining everyone. Okay, God is maintaining everyone. But although the resources are there to meet everyone's needs, but not for people's greed. Okay, some people are greedy to have a because of their this particular fault of them. This called is lobho. We say lobho. Okay, greed means lobe. Okay, that particular, this is a disease of the heart. This is a disease of the heart. Lobe is a disease of the heart, and it is a main reason for all types of sinful activities, happening around. Okay, lobe. It is said by God, and there is a different sloka also in Bhagavad Gita, which describes lobe is the main reason for different types of sinful. It's a disease of the heart. So, because of this, what people they want to do, they want to something called as manipulate this material world, manipulate this world, okay, for their own prosperity or own satisfaction or own to meet their to meet their unflinching or unlimited desires. They are having, because love is there, therefore they are having unlimited desires in their heart to acquire all sort of things for their enjoyment. And they have got a enjoyment mentality.
Excuse me,
Not,
sir.
not a service mentality. Yes.
So, sir, would it be like, say, for example, is it wrong to have desires per se?
Yeah, that's a good question. See, it's not wrong to have a desire, not wrong to have a desire. First of all, it's not wrong, but depends on what type of desire it is. What type of desire? I mean, man can never be desireless. Man can never be desireless. If somebody says that I am desireless, that means he has a desire that he wants to be desireless. He says, I want to be desireless. That means it is indirectly he's saying that he has a desire to be desireless. So man can never be desireless. But the thing is, now what type of desire you need to have? That is what differentiates between different living persons. Okay, what type of desire do
I
you
guess
should
that from what I come to understand, like desires should are somewhat important, because without desires, how can we basically move forward in life? Like we won't have, if we don't have anything to look forward to. Like say for example, I want to own this car, I want to live in this house. Then there would be no progression of a person or the humanity in conclusion.
correct? So see, like you say, like I want to have, my desire is to own a house, own a house and live there and have some other possessions, okay, and live comfortably. But you see, there are some persons, okay, on meeting one desire, like if he has just one house, he plans to have one more house. He says that dil mange more. He says, what should I do with one house? Let me create some more houses for myself. Okay, so the desires are endless. Somebody who's having like disease of lobho, he wants not only to have one house, but he wants to have more houses. He not only wants to have possessions, but he wants to have more of them, the possessions, more and more and more and more. Okay, so what happens is that by this case, what happens that some persons, see, now here in this material world, I told you the resources are limited. Okay, the resources are limited. See, previously what used to have, there used to have agriculture all throughout agriculture was there. No industry was there. So naturally, there were plenty of the situation at that time. I have seen in my own eyes, the situation was very, very good. People lived so happily. People were very much, they were very much friendly. Okay, they were very much what kind. They were very much other good qualities were there when they were having only agriculture. I have seen in one village, there was in previously like 20, 30 years back, in some parts of our state and our country, people used to have only on agriculture. But after industries came, lot of trees were cut down. Lot of trees were cut down. So okay, and naturally, so what I was trying to tell is that the resources are limited. Okay, the resources are limited. If one gains, it is he gaining by because several people are losing. Several people are losing, then he's gaining something. It because see, one gains, one loses. It is saying, they are saying that if one gains, another loses. So because of that, what happens? There is a competition going on. The competition has arrived because of that. But previously, when there was only agriculture, the people did not have so many, because industries they produced so many wants that people have made as needs. The industries have created so many wants. One wants to have this brand of chappal, or this brand of cloths. Okay, all those things are the produce of the industries. So because of the wants, the people have become very competitive to possess those things. But previous, and because of the proliferation of the industries, now the trees are cut down in large number, and you see in a lot of places there are no trees, no rains, nothing. Because the earth is limited, the resources are limited. If you want to have something, you have to lose that some other thing. If you want to have industries, you may have to lose on agriculture and good food and health for that matter. Okay, so the thing is that it is not wrong to have a desire, but we should have desire to fulfill our needs only, and the rest we should know the goal of life. What is our goal of life? That we will know what is our goal of life. So just our essential needs. We should look, we need to look for our daily, and for our daily survival, we need not so much thing. We need food that does not cost so much. We need some shelter. We need some clothes. If you think our wants or needs are actually these things. But we are struggling hard to meet our wants because of our desires. They will have. Those who cannot control their desires, they will go before fulfilling their wants, and their life will end, but the desire will not end. Life is ending, but the desire will not end. Like our one Alexander, okay, Alexander had a desire to rule the whole world. Now he had a desire, so he has captured so many kingdoms, and then finally Alexander or Napoleon, I think Alexander, okay, then he came to India, and he thought of conquering the India also, but there was some problem, and then he met with death. Okay, he had a desire to rule over the whole world. He had conquered so many kingdoms, but still finally he had met death, and then the so much of wealth that he has accumulated, okay, so much of kingdoms that he has accumulated, could he take away with him? No. And so therefore he told that when you make a coffin for me, coffin where his body has to put to the grave, he told that write on my coffin so that people can read and understand that I am not taking, although I have surpassed so much of wealth, I have conquered so many of kingdoms, but still I am going empty-handed. I have nothing taking with me all these material things what I have gained. So this is the result of having a wrong desire. A wrong desire. So one should carefully know what his desire should be, and he should be able to control the desires, because it is told that in one day, in a day, if you think yourself, so many desires are coming every day to your mind. But Lord Krishna has told in Bhagavad Gita, the desires will come, but you should remain silent. You should not endeavor to fulfill those desires. Like the rivers are flowing into a sea. Okay, this is my sea, and the rivers are flowing, the water from the rivers are flowing into the sea. But the sea is remaining undisturbed. Okay, the desires will come like the waters of the rivers. Okay, it is like flowing into the sea, but the sea is remaining undisturbed. So become like a sea and remain undisturbed to the different desires that is flowing into your mind every day. Okay, so this is what I think. Anybody has any other doubt? But we
No,
will
sir.
know. But we will more clarify it more when we know, when the subsequent other classes and other more we study and more we know, so your doubt will be much more clarified and you will understand it better. So have patience, and we will discuss goal of life, we will discuss what should be our activities, then you will slowly know that how to control, how to overcome, how to become undisturbed, all those things you will know. Okay, so now that is what it's saying. Everything inanimate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. Okay, yes. Here, the Lord is the soul. Lord, everything has come from Lord. This is one very good point. Lord is the supreme proprietor of everything. Supreme proprietor of everything. How? Somebody tells that I have bought this rice with 50 rupees. 50 rupees. So rice man has produced, or from the fields man has produced rice. But rice can never be produced if there is not sufficient rains, not sufficient weather, or not sufficient soil. The rains, nobody can say that I can produce rains. Nobody can say that I can produce soil. The rains, soil, heat, these are all the proprieties given by Lord Krishna. These are all given by Lord Krishna. Okay, even for industries, they need to work on manganese, on lead, on tin, on aluminum. All these things they can never manufacture. No man can manufacture all these things. They are also given by us, by Krishna to us. Okay, so we are never the proprietor of anything. We are just utilizing the property of Lord Krishna, of God. We are just utilizing, we are just using the property of Krishna. But we are saying that I own this, I own that. Okay, but actually these are all of these, even our bodies. You will slowly come to know our bodies. Okay, our relatives, everybody is also provided to us to us by Lord Krishna. Okay, so Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of everything. Okay, so, and one should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So there is in saying, saying in wisdom saying says that one should not be greedy for others' property. One should not be, or one should not look at others' property. These people, when they studied these things previously. These were the main topic of discussion previously in Gurukul system, long time back, when the people used to go to a place, Muni's place, or a place of study, to a sage who used to live something like in a isolated place in a forest or somewhere else. They used to study these things. These are part of something known as Hitopadesh. Hitopadesh, when they used to study, like one should not look at others' property, one should not crave for others' property. Okay, so these are the matter of study. Previously, they used to study these things. Okay, so one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. And even if they receive something, they should become gratitude. They should have a sense of gratitude towards Lord, towards Lord. That yes, I have got something because it is the mercy granted by Lord Krishna. Okay, now what type of things that we are getting? Okay, we are getting material things. We are getting material things. Material goods we are getting. Also, there are some goods we are getting which we do not, which we cannot estimate the worth, like the sunlight, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, the food, I mean, yes, the food that we eat. One can never estimate this free uh, resources that we receive. One can no estimate the worth of a air when he is on a oxygen ventilator. If due to some reason he is in an oxygen ventilator, he can know the worth because it cost him some lakhs of rupees for some hour of ventilator. And I think in the COVID situation, many would be knowing something about this. They are giving lakhs of rupees for this oxygen. Okay, but we are getting them free because it is due to that we are parts and parcels of Krishna, and Krishna has arranged, Lord Krishna has arranged for us to get these things free of cost. Okay, and we just need to work a little. Like previously, what used to happen when they used to do agriculture? How much do you think they are working? They are not working more hours. Okay, they used to work a little in the daytime and in the afternoon time, or in the evening time they used to work. That's all for their daily livelihood, and they were very happy. But now happiness, if there is something which has gone away from people's life, that is, you can say people are not happy. They are not, the happiness is missing in people's life. Happiness is missing. That I can personally know because I have seen the people 20 years back how they were and now how they are. I can see it from my experience. The people's happiness are missing. Their different value system is degrading. Okay, so much of things are happening. Why? Because you see why the happiness is decreasing. You can see that by the number of suicides, by the number of different crimes, okay, by the number of different what different even news, you will see that plenty of things are there demonstrating that the happiness is missing from people's lives. You are you are from the struggle. You see, so many people are struggling in life for something or the other. But even if they're getting that material thing, but they're not getting happy. They're not becoming happy. The happiness is missing. Why it is missing? Why people are not becoming happy? Can somebody tell me? Any
Sir,
reason?
because of endless desires.
Because yes, that is a very good reason. Because of endless desires. What else? Yes. Because see now, because one person got some wealth, he now he had the desires for getting more wealth, and for that he has to struggle. Like somebody has got some reputation, like reputation, but to maintain that reputation or maintain that, they have to struggle, and this struggle means it will remove the happiness from your life. Actually, God has designed in such a way that you do not have to struggle. There should not You should work but not struggle. Okay, because of endless desires. That is what you are, because of the disease in the heart, you are trying to acquire more and more, which are not necessary. Therefore, you are creating unhappiness for yourself. And because, see, another reason I will say that we are disconnected from happiness. Therefore, we are not happy. Okay, we associate happiness with something else. We wrongly we say that getting something will make us happy. Will make us happy. This is a wrong notion that people are harboring. Okay, getting something, people will happy. So therefore, people are do what? They are now becoming like, give me more and more, give me more and more, give me more and more, only give me more and more items. But they are not saying take this, take that. Okay, from okay, they are from a giving attitude to a taking attitude. Just think about it. Okay, somebody says that those who give are happier than those who take. Somebody gets more happiness by giving than by receiving. Okay, so this is also a different notion of people. Okay, so now in the subsequent classes, if you have been patient, then we will know another reason for why we are happy, why we are unhappy. Because you see, I'll just give just a hint of that. Maybe we will get to know a little bit later. Because see, the fish is designed to live in a water, full of water. He will be happy if he is put in the water. But if fish is made to live in a piece of land, then will he be happy? Will he be happy? If fish is made to live on the land, will he be happy? Hello?
No, sir.
It will cause the death of the fish. Death of the fish. Similarly, we are part and parcel of Lord Krishna, and we ought to live. There is a world called a spiritual world. We belong to that spiritual world, but we have fallen down to this material world. Therefore, we can never become happy. Never we can become happy. Therefore, we are also called as everyone in this world, living in this world, as called as fallen souls. Patita. In our language, he said patit. पतित हो गए हैं कहां से because we belong to the spiritual world to live along with Lord Krishna, along with God, but we have fallen down from here to this world, material world, because of our endless desires, wrong desire. Because of our wrong desire, we have fallen into this material world to become God. Because we have become, at some point, we have become envious of God. That is also another fault. Envious of God. That is another big disease of our heart, is envy. To become envy of others. That's why in this world also you see another main reason for the unhappiness is envy. Somebody is creating troubles for us. Those who are trying to go up, others are pulling them down. Because people are envious in general. Okay, so therefore we have fallen down in this material world to enjoy, to become like God. We want to become God. Everyone is trying to become God. Okay, to enjoy like God. Okay, to become the Lord. Everyone is trying. So we cannot become happy. In this material world, we cannot become happy. Because we actually belong to this spiritual world. Okay. So the Vedic knowledge. Okay, the Veda. What is Vedic knowledge? Vedic knowledge actually, the knowledge was designed in such a way that we will, having lived our life, okay, we can next enter into the abode of God. At the end of life, we can enter into the abode of God. We can know about God, enter into the abode of God. That is the Vedic knowledge. But people have misinterpreted this knowledge to make for sense gratification. To make for sense gratification and to enjoy in this world. Vedic knowledge was never meant for sense gratification and enjoyment. Okay, but it was there to know God, to reach the abode of God, to process to reach the abode of God. That is the purpose of Vedic knowledge. Okay, like you know, there are 4 Vedas. Now, Vyasadeva, there is actually one Vedas. Vedas have come from God. Okay, give me a minute. Hello. Are you
Yes,
getting
sir.
the point? So originally, Ved has come from God. So this knowledge is perfect knowledge. Because it has come from God, it is perfect knowledge. Now, the first invocation, you know that whatever comes from God is perfect and complete. Veda has come from God, therefore it's perfect. But people have misinterpreted this Veda for their sense gratification purpose. Okay. So, okay, so the Veda has come from God, it's perfect. And the goal of Veda is to know God and love Him, is to know about God. Okay, because this material world has been created by God so that people know about God and then they go back to the spiritual planet again, the spiritual world where people actually belong. Not that people create different activities here for their sense gratification. We will know what is sense gratification in the perhaps today we do not have much time. Maybe in the next class we will talk about what are the different senses we have and what is the body. All those things we'll subsequently know. Okay, so our God has created this material world, okay, to know about God and to transfer ourselves to the spiritual world. But we have made it in such a way that we are trying to only stay in this material world and with having more and more possessions and no goal of life. With no goal of life. We do not aim for any goal. We just want more and more enjoyment, more and more sense gratification, more and more, okay, this, that, all those things. But the real person is one which has some goal in the life. And human, we have got the human body. That we'll discuss in the next class. Okay, what this human body, in this human body, what we are, how we are different from other bodies. Human body. Just to tell you a little hint of that, let me tell you, there are 84 millions of species of life forms. 84 millions of species of life forms existing. Out of that, some belong to the trees category, some belong to the water living, okay, the water living creatures. Some belong to the living on land. Then some belong to the flying in the sky like birds. Okay. And in the land also, there are many animals, you know, there are mammals, non-mammals, there are reptiles, and there are also different human bodies. In humans also, there is so many millions of human bodies are there. Okay, like the demigods. I will talk about demigods in the subsequent classes. They are also, like, you can say they are some type of, they have got different human bodies. A very powerful
Half
human.
human, half god.
Huh? Yes.
Half human, half god. Demigods.
Yes, demigods means, like, we call them devata, devata or devi, which you have heard of, like Ganesh, like Shiva is called Mahadev. Then you have Durga Devi. Then you have Brahma. Okay. Then you have Kartikeya, Kuber. All lot of demigods are there. We'll talk about the demigod concept. Why they are there. Okay. So now, what is the human? Now, how human is different? Humans are different because, on one aspect, because they can have one important characteristic. One important characteristic differentiates between human beings and other species of life. That is the ability to inquire about God. Ability to inquire about God. That differentiates the human beings from other creatures. In other species of life, cat, dog, lion, tiger, they do not inquire about God. They do not have the ability or capability to inquire about God. But in the human form of life, they have got this special property that they have the ability to inquire about God. And those in the human form of life, those who are not doing this, they can be said to be like animals, living like animals. Even if they are in the human bodies, they are living like animals. Therefore, you see so many crimes, animal-like crimes are happening. Why? Because they do not inquire about God, they do not exercise the ability to inquire about God, and they do not follow the process to have a connection with God. So they are living like animals. They're doing so many crimes, and they are creating a hellish life. What happens if they do some crimes? They create hellish conditions. Even in the earthly planet, they can create hellish conditions. Like one example is going to jail. Going to jail may appear for some people good, but at the end of life, they will enter a different planetary system, which is called as hell, Narak Lok, where they will actually be subjected to different punishments. Okay, so those things we will study also vividly in the category of karma. When we'll study that persons doing good activities, they will enjoy the result. Those doing bad activities, they will suffer the result. Enjoyment and suffering are part and parcel of the various fruits given by karma, the activity. What should be our karma? That we will also study in the forthcoming class. Okay, so that is what it is talking about. Then Veda. Okay, so one should be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is the proprietor of anything. The cow, for example, gives milk, but she does not drink the milk. Okay, cow is a very, that's why cow is called as Go Mata. Because, see, let me talk something about cow. See, there are 7 types of mothers. Like one mother who has given you birth, then you have this earth is a mother, then you have Guru's wife is also a mother. Okay, then you have wife of a Brahmana, that is also a mother. Okay, wife of, I mean, a Brahmana means a spiritual spirit those who knows about God. Who knows about God is called a Brahmana. Who knows about God and who teaches about God and all those. Okay, so wife of a Brahmana is also considered a mother. Then Go Mata, cow, is also considered a mother. Okay, then a nurse. Nurse is also called a mother. Okay, in this way, they're mothers. So cow is a mother, and because cow gives us milk. Okay, and therefore cow is very dear to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is very, cow is very dear to Lord Krishna. Okay, cow gives us milk. Okay, and that milk can give us all the nutrients what our bodies require. A cow milk can give us all the nutrients. Okay, the cow milk is very good. Even the dung of a cow, the dung of a cow is very pure. Of a cow is very pure. It is used in the different festivals for purification. Somebody has observed. Has anyone observed the dung of a cow being used in the festival?
Yes,
or in,
sir.
or in puja? Okay, in different pujas also the cow dung is required before starting of a puja. Okay, they apply the paste of dung to make a sacrifice. A fire sacrifice happens. Okay, where the different wood is kept and ghee, you pour ghee. So the making of this fire sacrifice place, they need a cow dung to purify that. Okay, so this cow is a very useful animal, and it is said that by keeping a cow your all economic problem will be solved. How? Because cow gives you milk, enough milk. You can, from milk you can get paneer, you can get curd, you can get what? Dahi. Okay, and curd is dahi, and what else? Ghee. Okay, all those things you can get from milk, and you can have full satisfaction from even milk, drinking milk. Okay, these are very good for your health and for your development of fine tissues in the brain. Cow milk is very much required. Why fine tissues are required? Now, to understand about God. To understand about God, not many people can understand. Those who are taking non-veg or having irregular eating habits, they cannot develop the fine tissues to understand about God. Okay, you should be opting for a more sattvic lifestyle to eating. We will discuss that in subsequent classes. Okay, so then you can know about God, you can understand God, and you can make good use of your human form of life. Okay, so any other doubt? Let me know. If there is any question from anybody else, let me know. Okay, so see, there is always this great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists. Okay, the capitalists, what they want to do, we'll discuss this in further detail. They use these laborers for their prosperity. They give some money to the laborers, and then the laborers work for these capitalists. Capitalists, they make more money and they become prosperous at the labor of these few laborers. For the laborers, what? The human form of life is wasted because they are devoting their useful human body in the service of this capitalist for a few money. For few money, they are selling their bodies in the service of the capitalists. So in that way, the human form of life is getting wasted. Okay, and there is always a quarrel. You see, wherever there is industry, there will be laborers and capitalists. There will be always quarrel going on between the labor community and the capitalist community. Okay, so men face each other in enmity, just like cats and dogs. So similarly, there will be different categories of men or different groups of men. They will be always going into some or other quarrel. Why? That is also another discussion point, because this is a Kali Yuga. Another is Kali Yuga means we are living in a time of quarrel. In age of quarrel we are living. So we are bound to have some quarrels. We will discuss what is time and the different phases of time that we are living in. So we'll discuss that. And so the human race must take Vedic wisdom from Sri Upanishad, and no one should quarrel over material possessions. Okay, one must be satisfied by whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communist or the capitalist or any other party claims to be the proprietor of the resources of nature. So we'll discuss these things, and see, human beings are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance of human life. Okay, all these things we'll discuss, and we'll continue with other shlokas or mantras of this Sri Upanishad in our next class. Okay, any doubts or any comments if one has to make, you can let me know. Otherwise, today we will stop our session for today. I hope it would have benefited you somewhat.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, very good. Very good. So we will conduct our classes in this weekend session we will have, and I will also uh, uh, I'll upload the recording, and you can also see the recording, and when